Thought we'd get into this Menendez stuff. Things have changed tremendously for them. At one time, like in what? Well, as soon as the documentary came out, it was like the general, I don't know, feeling, if you will, was these guys are getting out. Like, you know, they a very convincing documentary. You know, and they had the average consumer, including myself. I think they were probably sexually molested by their father. I don't know if that gives you the right to blow your father and your mother's faces off, because they did. Right. They blew their faces off. You know, so I'm kind of torn here. That if you've been molested since you were 6.
Well, you know, the problem is this thing was tried twice, and the original lawyer had them dressed up in those sweaters, those cardigans, and she brought this sexual allegation out for the first time at the trial. Leslie Abrams, one of the finest trial lawyers in California, and she got a hung jury. And so what did the prosecution do? They tried the case.
They learned from the case.
Yep.
Repositioned.
Yep.
And was ready for the sexual allegations. And basically did a heat reversal.
The new judge that they picked did not let any of the sexual allegations in.
None.
Now,
see, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
So, you know, when you think about how they got prosecuted, the circumstances, you know, I kind of believe in fair jury trials. And, you know, when you win a jury trial or you get a hung jury, that's a win in a criminal case. And so, in my mind, I would have been okay at the time with the prosecution not re-prosecuting it. I don't like when the system is perverted like you just said. They learn from the first trial. They find the judge that's not going to let any of it in. And so they went to trial on a case where it's just like these guys got a shotgun and blew their parents' heads off.
And that's basically all the jury was allowed to hear. The jury was not allowed to hear any of the allegations of sexual misconduct. They weren't allowed to have the cousin that spent the night and had seen or heard of sexual misconduct.
Who testified in the first trial, but not the second.
But was not allowed in the second. So I kind of think that there's a part of me that thinks these guys should be out.
I think a new trial could be fair.
Yeah.
Because if a jury heard all of that and they still decided to let them off, then I'm okay with the jury system working. But I think a jury could, I mean, it was a hung jury. They didn't win. You know, I think there's a very good chance with all those allegations coming out in today's day and age, they could win. Back then, the concept of a father sexually abusing his son had never been heard of.
Oh, yeah.
This was one of the first times anyone had ever made such an allegation in public ever, let alone in court.
The second jury consisted of like 5 men and 4 women or something like that. And it was like, you know, the men, as a man, you know, back in the 80s, you're like, listen, your dad, no dad's going to
do that to you.
No one heard of it. There had never been a defense like that, as far as I know, that had been raised.
Here's the Fox story. It's quite lengthy.
But in terms of the victims community, for decades, this is something that we've been involved with, and a lot of our joy, a lot of our grief has come from that.
Like, it's been 38 years. They've been in for 38 years. I think so.
Community.
They're completely different men, as would be expected. They've lost a little bit of that arrogance that they had as kids being raised with money. They are very humble human beings.
I think that
38 years in prison will humble you.
I hope so. I hope they don't still have that swagger after 38.
Yeah, I hope not, because we got some real monsters on our own.
Prison swagger, though, it looks like.
Menendezes are very capable of shape-shifting and being who people want them to be.
Well, we have a preview tonight of a new special on the Menendez brothers as they fight for their last chance at freedom. You'll hear from the brothers and their family in the TMZ special debuting tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Joining us tonight is TMZ founder and host Harvey Levin. Harvey, great to see you. What's your biggest takeaway from this?
Well, my biggest takeaway is personal. I covered the trials when I was a local reporter here in L.A. My impressions of them were spoiled brats, monsters who deserved their sentence. 35 years later, I spoke with two entirely different people. They're introspective, they're thoughtful, they are remorseful. But the biggest thing is that until recently, Brett, they had no chance of ever seeing freedom. Yet, they started a hospice program, a suicide prevention program, a green space program. They counsel.
I mean, it's easy to start all kinds of programs when you've been in prison. Me and Seth would have 46 programs if we were in prison for 38 years.
I mean, yeah, we just have to find out if any of these have launched or they're working yet.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Rehabilitate them. They got advanced college degrees, and then they did all.
Hey, Seth, you want to get your master's with me? I'm in jail right now.
I'm good sticking with my AA, Bubba.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
So I am stunned at the two people that I just spoke with.
Yeah, I guess there are people, obviously, who remember the gruesome nature of the murder of the parents, and there is some politics here. The LA Times writes about this before losing to hope.
Oh, there was I mean, Jay, this is rifled full of politics, is it not? I mean,
100%.
Outgoing guy loved him. Ingoing guy doesn't. Outgoing guy wanted to use this as a springboard to potentially help him politically because he was getting his ass kicked by incoming guy. Outcoming guy was a real piece of shiz when it comes to being hard on crime. You know, if the crime didn't meet the threshold of $1,000, he didn't prosecute. People hated him. He was trying to use this in every way, which shape or form for some type of political game.
Hochman, that's the LA District Attorney in November's election. Gascon, the previous one, asked a judge to rescind the Menendez's sentences of life without the possibility of parole. He urged they will be giving 50 years to life. Since Hochman took over as district attorney, he has opposed the brothers getting a new trial and last month filed a motion to rescind Gascon's resentencing request.
Wow, so man, Hochman has came in and said and reverse all of Gascon's stuff.
Brothers' lawyers paint Hochman's action as motivated by politics, not legal reasoning. They are pursuing clemency with Governor Newsom. So that's just the...
Oh, so now they're trying to bypass the court system and go right to Newsom.
Oof. What do you think he would do as a because he's trying to position himself for president, right?
See, I don't know what Newsom does. Like, he has he has advisors and stuff. And then do they sit down and say, Gavin, this is a good look? To let I wonder what has anybody found? What's public perception?
I think it's a 50-50.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50 in California. I think around the nation it may be different skewed.
Yeah, no. Look, politics reigns supreme here, and what you said is right. The new DA, Nathan Hochman, is opposing the resentencing of the Menendez brothers, which, there's a hearing on Friday. It's going to be a dogfight. But I think that hearing is irrelevant because even if they got resentenced, all it would mean is it then goes to the parole board. But Governor Newsom has already jumped the gun and sent it to the parole board. So, all
right. So it looks like Newsom has already superseded the court and thrown this to the parole board.
Yeah, it looks like he did that back in March.
And has the parole board met about this yet? I'm assuming not, if it just happened in March.
So this is it. So this is if Newsom can't get the parole board to approve them, then they're done. They gotta just settle in.
They're done.
Oh boy.
For a long winter's nap.
Friday. And I think in terms of the politics, Brett, it is stunning to me that Gavin...
And isn't a parole board, Jay, only a 3-person panel usually?
It looks like it's 3.
3.
Okay.
Some jurisdictions have different ones, but looks like I think LA is 3.
Wow. Can you imagine, Jay? 3 people control your destiny.
Unelected.
Who appoints the parole board? Like, does the district attorney? Does the warden?
Does the governor?
Does the California?
The governor. There's 21 full-time commissioners who are appointed by the governor.
Do you think that Doge should get rid of parole boards and then the public should just vote American Idol style on who gets out of jail and who stays?
American Idol. Yes. That would be the best show ever, where they have these bad guys up here and then America votes is whether let them in or out.
Yeah,
it'd be like the Running Man.
Yeah, you're saving all this money on having the parole board.
It out when he heard that Hochman was going to oppose all of this. Governor Newsom said, I'm sending it to the parole board now.
Oh, Bubba, you called it.
Oh, yeah. I called it. And the parole board is hand-selected.
I think it even is pretty obvious
what's going to happen. They're walking.
You think they're
Blitz
down?
the country right down the.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee you. If this comes down to a parole board, a 3-person parole board,
Yes.
and the governor is the one that called for them to go to a parole board, which will determine their fate, they're out. They're
and
done.
the last 2 governors were Democrat, of super liberal progressives.
They're frying up hot dogs, watching the ball game July 4th.
Waiting for fireworks.
They might even be they might even be at Dodger Stadium throwing out the first pitch.
The middle. And it's pretty clear to me, at least, that that Gavin Newsom's running for president. If the parole board comes back to him and says they are rehabilitated and they're not a danger, I think he's going to let them out.
Boom, exactly what I've been saying.
And that is a pretty ballsy political move for somebody who has presidential ambitions.
Ruin his chance of being president if they got out of jail and then they murdered somebody's parents again. I mean,
I will tell you this,
would he
man.
be toast?
Yes, he's done.
Someone else's parents are sexually assaulting them.
They're parent killers. I don't know who else they'd kill.
I got to think, though, that if they do get out, they're going to be absolutely model citizens.
You think
They're
they're going
not-
to party like rock stars?
I think they're going to lay low.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know the way this should have been handled, Bubba, is the way we said at the beginning. If in today's day and age, this type of sexual assault evidence would never be excluded. It just would never be excluded.
No, they're like, we're letting it in.
And so under today's rules, if they got off, then everyone should be okay with it because they got a fair jury trial. The argument is they didn't get a fair second jury trial, which they didn't.
Nope.
But I don't think they should be let go by a parole board that was appointed by Gavin Newsom. I think if the
They should
judicial
retry
system,
them.
yeah.
Retry him. That's the fairest thing.